Hey guys, it's Matt. Let's talk briefly about the corruption, rigged Paris elections. And there's more important things to talk about as well. More important things being like, I don't know a better word for it, like time dilation in dreams, how a dream plays out. It seems like it's moving in the same time as we experience in the waking world, but it's moving much faster. I've had 5 or 10 minute sequences in dreams where I wake up, or Zara's waking me up, and only 1 or 2 minutes has gone by on the clock. And this is very similar to the way the movie Inception talks about the differences in time as you move down in layers. And I believe it's the same as we would move up through like the moment of death, whatever that is. It's actually playing out slower, which means it's possible that this whole reality is to that level is just an in and out instantly, or a blink, like we've talked about. But we need to, since the corrupt, rigged, joke elections in Paris are it's still in the news cycle, and I made a big video about it on I didn't realize how rigged it was on Saturday. Let's just do that now. So Le Pen's party, which is called, I have another website up here because this is all new to me. It's called the National Rally. Le Pen's, first off, if anybody's new, there's nothing legitimate, in my opinion, about any, quote, national election in any Western country. Meaning, I believe it's all decided via script beforehand. Whether that decision played out 5 years ago or 5 months ago, it doesn't matter. It's all decided ahead of time. But you don't need to decide it ahead of time when you have an election system which can be so easily rigged as the Paris system. So Le Pen's national rally in the first round got the majority. Was it the 33%? I think it was the 33%. So then Macron was in third place, and there was the left wing. What are the left wing lunatics called? The New Popular Front are the leftist lunatics. I guess the Antifa people that take to the streets. It's the New Populist Front, the New Popular Front. It sounds like some sort of faction in North Vietnam or something, but they finished second. So now, after you have a second round or runoffs, now Le Pen's party, which is the closest thing to conservatives here, or Republicans, want to stop all immigration, etc. Now, they won 2 weeks ago. Now they're third. The left-wing lunatics are first. And Macron, I'm going to say that like somebody from Latin America, he's now second, or his party. So what happens is, you couldn't, first of all, it doesn't even need to be rigged, in my opinion, because it's decided beforehand. Oh, by the way, the t-shirt is Block Island. It's in New York State or Connecticut. Pam got it for me. It's not my attempt to put any forth cube symbolism or any sort of Saturnalia symbology. It's just a damn t-shirt. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And the arm, I was going to say, it's one of the few t-shirts that fit me well. The arms are a little Matt, stop it. Okay. So see, what you don't need to have it decided beforehand or 5 years ago, or Albert Pike decided it. You don't need that, because you can see exactly what needs to happen for the outcomes you want, because the first round of the election, unless you get to 50%, you get a total supermajority. There is no runoff. But they know with 5 or 6 parties or whatever, there's probably 10 or 50 parties that don't make the news, smaller parties. They know exactly what they need to do. So what they did was, this assumes all votes are completely legitimate. All votes are counted, and they actually go through a real process. I don't really believe that, but they can have a real process, because they can still get whatever outcomes they want. So Le Pen's party, whatever, was winning or won most precincts, again in total 33%. But it's not enough, so you need the runoff. 200 candidates dropped out. 200 candidates across all the precincts dropped out. So you can consolidate the left-wing lunatic vote, or the Macron. You know who I am? La Hermandad. Correcto. You can consolidate and then combine the leftist votes to overcome the right. The point is, you know exactly what you need to do, because the first round, it's at least I don't that doesn't exist. I don't think anywhere that I don't know. I've never I'm not an expert on European politics, but I mean at least outcomes for U.S. senators, big U.S. senator races in the United States, I believe are, let's just say, they know the outcome beforehand. We'll just put it like that. In the United States, I don't think I don't think they care about the House of Representatives. I really don't. They can't control every little thing. They only get in for 2 years. They're absolute useful idiots. When Nancy Pelosi was a speaker, she will just tell her people how to vote. The Republican majority leader will just, that people come in to the House, most people green, every 2 years they have to go through another election. If they don't vote the way the majority leader, which is of course all Longshanks, all not milk, if they don't vote as they're told, well, they'll be out like shit through a goose in just the next 2 year election cycle. So they're always campaigning. I don't think they know anything. They don't have to, they don't have to be in the know. A U.S. senator race, like a Chuck Schumer or something, these villains and vampires are in the know, and I think of course they would not let, let's just say, an outcome slip through there that Albert Pike didn't intend. Let's put it that way. Did he predict, in addition to all the world wars coming, did he predict the Senate races? He might have. Hey Zara, so in Paris, you know exactly what needs to happen to get the outcomes you want, and you can just have 200 candidates just drop out to consolidate vote. So you don't even need a storyboarded election decided 6 months or a year ago, or everything. You can actually get your outcomes in a way that seems completely legitimate to people. What's up, Zara? So anyway, guys, enough on this. I mean, I think that who knows that the not milk put different types of fake democracy into different Western countries, just to see, what works best for them. Or, I mean, outcomes are always decided, of course, but what system appears the most legitimate to people, and what will produce the back end loosh, and the people taking to the streets, and the anger, which I'm sure, did Le Pen's people take to the streets? I don't know. I don't know, but I didn't think Western elections could be more screwed up, strange, backward, rigged, and corrupt. Now, until I became an expert on this French system, and I'm not an expert, but you know what I mean. Until I learned all about it. What an absolute joke! Oh boy, Le Pen. Will Le Pen be back with her Republican French Republicans? Anyway, whatever. Let's talk about the time stuff in dreams. I wonder if you've noticed this. I've researched it before, and they say that the time in dreams goes by at the same time. At least whatever research I came across. So this is years ago, and I didn't put that much time into it. I think that's totally wrong. Time is not the same. As you go down in levels, think of the movie Inception. It speeds up relative to as you get closer to what you consider real reality. It's slower. So in the movie Inception, if you remember that the one scene where they were put to sleep, I don't know if it's probably the second level, and they're in the van. The van's being chased, and they're being sloshed around. The person's driving the van, trying to get away from whoever's chasing. And the scene's playing out, the chase with the van over 1 minute. But the layer down, they're at a hotel, and, I don't know, minutes or hours are playing out. So slower as you go, it's much faster as you go lower. And it's slower as you go up relative to the lower level looking up. So in the dream, again, I've just had this happen to me too many times when it's about time for me to wake up, and Zara typically will try to wake me up at sun up, which is like 4:55. So I mean, it's just she needs to understand not to really mess with me till 6, but I don't mind. She'll lay on my chest, and I'll go back to sleep or whatever. But so I'm waking up a lot, falling back asleep, and there is an alarm clock right there, and it seems to be 4, 5, 6 minute sequences in the dream, maybe up to 10 sometimes, but I don't think it's that long. and then I'll open my eyes again in the bedroom, and then just a minute or two or three. So this, as you get closer to, quote, the real world, I don't know any other way to talk about it. It's slower relative to the level of reality below, and it's probably the same way for when we die. Whatever is the next layer is much slower relative to this, meaning it is possible, like we've theorized, or I've theorized, but many of you agreed that this is possible, that when you decided to incarnate or go into Earth or whatever happened before birth, from if you had a friend up there in the next level or the next level of existence, or it would just seem like you went in and out in an instant, when of course 60, 70, 80, 90 years is playing out here. Very similar to the one of the greatest Star Trek The Next Generation episodes. If you haven't seen it, it's an absolute must see, even if you really don't like the Picard and Riker Star Trek The Next Generation. Is it called the Guiding Light or the Shining Light? I forget the season. You just need to research it. Picard experiences a whole nother lifetime in 15 minutes. It's an absolute truth drop, in my opinion. A probe comes before the Enterprise. They're just floating around, or patrolling the galaxy. As this probe pops up, beams something into Picard. I forget the details. He falls down and is unconscious on the bridge carpet for 15 minutes. In that 15 minutes, which is almost 45 to 50 minutes of the episode, he experiences an entire lifetime on another, quote, planet. I'm sorry if anybody just got triggered. For the first few months, he's on that other planet. He's like, I don't, you're not my wife, you're not my kid, or I'm a starship captain. He's holding on to that other life, but he's there so long, so many years go by with no evidence as to who he was before. Sound familiar? Potentially in our situation here. He then becomes so used to the new life that he really forgets about he was a starship captain. And I think he even doubts that he even was. And what is our job here, or the role of this reality? To forget, or we're completely mind wiped here for the most part, other than the recollection of a few that I've emailed with or have shared certain things with me. People have remembered experiences coming into the body, a soul coming into the body. People have shared experience where they do remember. I know Joe has told me about past life experiences. So there's a few, of course, especially people in our group, that have these sorts of recollections, can travel out of body, have gone to the astral. But for the most part, most of us are completely mind wiped. Picard in the Star Trek wasn't. He immediately remembered he was a starship captain. That's why he rejected, "You're not my wife." And anyway, the probe represented a race that had been gone for, let's just say, 1,000,000 years, I don't know, and was carrying the memories of a civilization that no longer existed, wanted the memories to continue, beamed the memories and another lifetime into Picard. So he wakes up. 15 minutes went by. Remember, this relates to the time dilation. I'm just going to continue to use that word, whether it's right or not, in dreams. 15 minutes has gone by, and Picard, he remembered, wow, I am a starship captain. He just literally, the probe did this perfectly, experienced, roughly 50 plus years on this. He didn't start as a child on this new planet, in this probe experience. He started as an older man. So say 50 years, and just as real as this life. And I think that's basically what happens to us at the moment of death. I think it's an absolute truth drop. We don't have to know what's coming. It'll just all make sense. It's that simple. Everything will be put into perspective. Come here, Zara. Everything will be put in. It'll just all make sense. And if there are any tricks or anything like that, or there's deceptions or light deceptions, you know what I'm going to say. We've done the work here. As above, so below. We see through the trick here. We've done the work here. We're no longer fooled here. That will translate. We're not doing all this work for no reason. You go into a gym, train, do the people. I haven't been to the I haven't been to the gym in a long time. I work out here at home now, but I used to do a lot at LA Fitness or whatever. They would do these dumb ropes, these heavy ropes, and all these strange new exercises came in. But whatever they are, you don't do all that without some of that translating to whatever you're going to do in physical life. So what we're doing here will translate. There might be tricks. So what? I'm not worried about it. It's going to be a completely new trick there. No, it's going to be if there's a trick, and I don't even think it's good to even expect tricks. I think as Tony said, you basically at the moment of death you get what you believe you're going to get, what you truly believe you're going to get, you will get. If you put that much energy, creative energy behind it. So just in terms of the time, and I think the dream character here in this reality, I think it exists almost like a clue, and it's a fractal type situation. So this world seems very real and the dream world seems a little vague. Not when you're there. You don't. When you are the dream character, you don't realize there's somebody sleeping in the bed, like we've talked about a few times, and it seems vague. The images seem a little blurry in this reality. Looking back, you don't notice anything wrong when you're in the dream. A lot of weird stuff happens. My dreams are just all over the place, weird, and they can change almost minute to minute. But it doesn't seem that strange when I'm in the dream. That's what that reality is. That's what this reality is. The dream character, the dream scenario, when you wake up, it just makes sense. Well, when we die, I think it will just make sense. I don't think it's really much more complicated than that. I think the dream character exists almost as a clue to us about its fractal. Myself here in this reality to the dream character, one level down, it's blurrier as I look back at it, it's stranger. The time moves much more. I get a little confused. It's much more quickly looking back down, because a 10-minute dream in this world can be a minute. So why would I think that's a fractal? That's another level of reality that I can compare and contrast here. Well, why would death be any different? I'm not just saying this to me. It's obvious to me. It really is. I mean, it can't be that obvious because I haven't experienced it. But it just seems there's so many clues. To me, I don't think I've falsely convinced myself to quell my fear of death or anything. I just think it really is obvious to me. You might see it in a different way, but so the next layer we will look back. We will see this. I think in the exact same step down as the way we see this reality to the dream. And then, like we've talked about before, well, how many then? That implies death isn't going to be the final. How many more layers then are there in the fractal or whatever it may be? 10, a million? I mean, the ultimate God or creator, creation, whatever it may be, source, whatever you might call it. I think that if a number of fractals or jumps away is that God, but it could be thousands of jumps away. Tony, one of the best advices I got from Tony, who gives, me the spiritual advice, although I've been in touch with him for many months now. He said, when we talk about, people will email me, know God, or this is, they're trying to know God or know Jesus, and I've said, this is the place. You probably knew God very well, or you probably knew Jesus, or you probably knew this is the place to forget. I mean, that's what, obviously. It could be argued, is God even here? I mean, look out your window. It's rather harsh. Is this the place to know God? We've talked about it in the past, but this is the place to forget and to kind of relearn about yourself, rediscover certain things. So that ultimate source creation or God may be many layers away, if you ask me. Tony talked about the higher self being like all powerful, basically, like the spiritual part of you, that put the little aspect of you into this game or whatever it needs from you, whatever it needs you to do here. I mean, he somehow, I keep using this word. I don't think he ever liked the word. He used the word, I use the word, he communed with his higher self in some way or entered it. And I don't know how to talk about it. Zara's not going to really cooperate here. I'm sorry, guys, that want to see Zara. Matt, just leave the camera low in case she, okay. He saw all the other simultaneous incarnations or experienced others in addition to himself, Tony said. Like looking through a lens and saw aspects of himself in different realities and different time periods. And then what's coordinating all that, he would call it higher self, and I don't like those terms, oversoul. And I just need to finally stop complaining about the terms and come up with a term. But he said, just from his aspect, we're in this reality, we are if you believe this sort of thing. I know the Christians here don't believe this sort of thing, of course, obviously, but you're a smaller aspect of a larger spiritual whole. And so all you can see is that next layer up to you is your higher self. That is incredibly all powerful from our perspective. So how many more layers are after that? But he basically reiterated to me that from his perspective and theories, that stop talking about knowing ultimate God and ultimate source creation. It's a long way away. I mean, why? This is not the place to, even when you get to the higher self level or the next layer up, if you believe these sorts of theories, he would say, you're a long ways away. I mean, you got a lot of intermediate steps to do. It's like setting out, remember, Forrest Gump kept jogging across the country, right? Los Angeles to Philadelphia, Los Angeles to Maine, and whatever he was doing, it'd be like on his first few steps talking about what he's going to do when he gets to Los Angeles, or where he's going to go out to dinner. I mean, first few steps, you got a long way to go. I don't, that's my theory. I know that's obviously there's a lot of Christians here, and that is very, very against their belief system. But I think there is a source creation, what you would call a God, a source of all creation. I'd like theories where it fractaled itself into trillions of pieces to better understand itself, and I entertain all that, and I like all those theories. But it did resonate when Tony said, you get the dream character is like a reality step down, then there's you here, and then at the moment of death, you will better understand the next layer of spiritual self. Tony was basically like, you got a long way to go. I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of steps in the fractal to understand complete source creation, God. It's like, could take who knows how. I mean, as you move forward or reconsolidate or whatever your belief is. So I'm not here to piss off any Christians or whatever, but just look out your window. This is not the place to know God. I don't understand that. You can believe. In other words, what I understand is, or if you believe Jesus Christ is your Savior, is your way out, is your way to heaven, and I understand that is a way out, but to say to know God, or I don't understand that in this place. This place is farthest removed from God, or final source or ultimate source creation that can exist, in my opinion. We come in here completely blind to our whole spiritual side of the Vitruvian man. I just don't understand that. So Zara's not going to completely cooperate today. What's with this weather? Oh my! Of these little horrible air conditioners, and can we get a couple of days of a rainy day or something cool? It's dry, everything's browning out. I mean, come on. All I want to do is just go in the backyard and just do stove experiments. I can't even do that. I'm not going to do no stove experiment where the embers could fly up and burn the whole neighborhood down. I can't do it. The only thing I want to do. I can't even do damn stove experiments. Just watch the grass turn brown and sweat. Although I'll show it to you sometime, guys. I have a cattle feeder pool. It's a big plastic Rubbermaid thing that I made into a pool, And in September, I can heat the water up and make it into a hot tub too. I'm telling you, when it's your, you can get in that as long as the water is below 85. It will cool your body temperature down a degree, and it really makes it nice and manageable. So, guys, there's a lot more to talk about. Let me see what the other things were I wanted to talk about. I forget, or I'll check the news real quick to make sure. Tucson and Tempe are still here. Guys, every time I start looking at the CNN headlines, I just want to do the rest of the video making fun of these headlines, and we're going to look at that. It's just incredible to me. There's so much fun stuff here. Barcelona anti-tourism protesters fire water pistols at, at visitors, and there's a picture of Barcelona residents with plastic water pistols. My friends went to Spain, and they went to Madrid, Barcelona, and Mallorca. They didn't say they got water pistols fired at them. They went in their 20s. The only other trip I took with these guys was Amsterdam. In my 20s, I went to Amsterdam. And in corresponding with Winston, Rotterdam and Amsterdam were the two of the most soulless, lifeless places, especially Rotterdam. I mean, it was lifeless in terms of the energy of real beings. It was I didn't really understand it because I was 26 or 27 at the time, living in Los Angeles, matrix child, working in the big insurance company, etc. But it even then, it just, especially Rotterdam, because Amsterdam, you have all types of tourists and all sorts of weird stuff. But even that, the people that lived there, it felt like the closest thing to what I would call like an NPC feel. Especially Rotterdam was just dead. It wasn't like a depression or anything when we were there. It was just the people just walked by like hopeless zombies. The streets were quiet, yet the city supposedly has I don't know, was it these two gigantic bridges and, I don't know, 500,000 people, something like, I don't know. So we'll do these. One quick thing before the headlines, guys. Just want to touch on this briefly. We'll do a whole video about it. Been corresponding with someone. I won't mention any names, but to that someone, I've had this conversation. I mean, being at the center of kind of what I've been at the center at for approaching 15 years now, we've had this conversation come up a lot of times. It's not just you I'm talking about here, but you're the most recent. I'm not going to mention any names without permission, anything like that. Do we need what do we need to have to get done here in this life? What do we need to understand here? What do we need to do here? Versus what can we hold off, and we can decide whether we want to do another lifetime or another incarnation. We can decide later after we die or whatever, wherever we go. Oh, I'll decide later if I want. No, the way to me, and Tony alluded to this as well. To me, this resonates with everything inside my inner knowing. We need to, whatever decisions need to be made, we need to get it done here. With this, whatever, that's part of the game that Tony would say that higher self has put all of us in is, if, again, I understand not everybody has this belief set, simultaneous incarnations. I mean, that's the game is, it is a little bit brutal because of how Tommy we are, deaf, dumb, and blind kid. How are we supposed to get it done here, Matt, if we know nothing about ourselves, know nothing about where we came from, know nothing about our spiritual selves? The whole reality teaches us we're nothing but the physical. Well, that's why it's a formidable game. I mean, but if it's so impossible, then why are we figuring it out now? Because everything here is backwards. Everything important here is backwards, at least from a reality presentation or screen perspective. So what does it seem? Even if you have understanding that through the moment of death you go off and you're another being, or you go to heaven, or you're a greater spiritual being, what does this seem like here? We're a lower being with no power, no say, just we are at the whim of other forces, and I can't do for myself here. I need something else to help me out. Then to me, it's all the opposite. It's just because everything here is opposites. It's just the opposite. If you, like, for example, this may be a bad example, but I don't think it's a bad example. I think there's a lot of merit to this. It's almost like the higher self is, and Tony wasn't clear on this, whether the higher self I don't want to use the word trapped itself in these reality games, because it's not a Saturn moon matrix that's trapping. It's the higher self agreed to this, and we can get ourselves out at any time if we do the right things. It's not, we don't need to appease a jailer, or it's the truth drop at the end of The Wizard of Oz, the biggest truth drop movie of all time. It's why The Wizard of Oz is what it is. It's why we were so enamored with it and drawn to it as children or teenagers, or when we were Matrix children. Whenever, most people in their over 40, The Wizard of Oz was a big deal when it came on, a big deal. And the reason we're so drawn to it, of course, it's the Judy Garland is wonderful, and Toto, and it's a wonderful movie. But the spiritual message we were getting, was resonating with an aspect of us where we weren't even consciously aware watching it. That's one of the reasons we were so drawn to it without even knowing. And most people that are real people like you, people like me, beings of spirit, but non-NPCs, how many of us that there are in this reality. I'm tired of hearing about 144,000. Forget that number, please. I mean, we don't know if there's 1,000 of us, or there's 1 billion, and the other 4 billion are NPCs. It doesn't matter. Worry about yourself. It doesn't matter. You're here to take care of your spiritual self. Do what your spiritual whole needs from this place. The biggest truth drop is you had the power all along. Glinda, whatever. Click, and you don't need no ruby slippers. You need to click your heels. It's just, it has to, it's a movie. It has to see, they have to do stuff like that. It's a movie. Just click your ruby, and people watching it just think the ruby slippers are magic. That got her back. No, she got herself back. There's nothing to do with ruby slippers, those Walmart pieces of shit. It's a movie, so they have to have those elements. Click your heels. You don't need to click your heels 33 times. Get yourself. It's Dorothy. You go back. It was all within you. I forget exactly how she put it, but as the higher self, all the higher selves sitting in a stadium together, watching their incarnations, and most of them are just they're just working their cubicle jobs, and they feel powerless, and all you got to do is they're just begging for us to be Dorothy. All you got to realize is you have the power. You can get us out. The higher self is like trapped until the little incarnations do it. Come on. It's like, I forget what TV show or movie this is reminding me of just watching. Come on, you can do it. Just say it. Let's just do it right now. If you don't want to come back, higher self, if you're watching me from a stadium somewhere, which is sick with other higher selves, we'll say it right now. We're not doing these physical realities anymore. We're not doing it. I declare, I understand my role in all this, my role in getting all of us out. We're not doing it anymore. Done. No more Earth-like systems. No more Earth-like physical of this level. Might decide to do other things, but no. The bathroom reminds us how low we are every morning. The stink of this. I mean, look, you're being distracted, Matt, from the most important moment in your spiritual life. Millions of years, your higher self, and you're trying to get out of here. You better stick to the point. You're right. No more of these Earth-like systems. We've done all we need to do. We've won. We're finished. We're out. Why? Because I said so. And the higher self is like stood up. All the other higher selves are up there like, my little incarnations don't know shit. This guy's working for a law firm. This person's trying to buy a second Magenta speedboat. Yours just got all of you out because he said so. Could be. There is, come on, it resonates. That might not be the exact scenario, folks, with your part of your spiritual self in a stadium with a big tub of popcorn, because they don't gain weight. He's not going to get a bellyache, just this huge tub of buttered popcorn waiting for the smaller incarnations to do something. Something with that resonates with me, and I bet with a lot of you. Why? Remember the rule of opposites. Because this whole place, what does it lay before us? Well, if it lays before us a whole menu, we know, but what really is just the opposite. I'm of the body. And the worst is atheism. The lowest is the atheism. I'm just a body of flesh that came from Monkey Man, that Monkey Man mated with Marmot, that came from Stephen Hawking Big Bang explosion. I'm going to nothing. Or the atheists always try to, after I do this, like, that atheism doesn't mean going to nothing. Like, what are you talking about? What does that? What means that then? If not, of course, it generally means there's no spiritual you that goes on. I mean, it's so bizarre, these comments from atheists I get after I do this. Like, atheism doesn't mean no spirit. They'll like, what do you, of course it means no spiritual self and likely no sort of existence after death. What else could it mean? It's so weird, some of these comments I get. So what does it give you, this reality? So atheism is the lowest, but generally gives you that you in the body, you have to look to it for its rewards, you're nothing without it. You do the selfie, your rewards will come from it, ego. I mean, all the, and a lot of people still hold on to there's a soul or another aspect that exists after death or whatever your religion may be. But what is the whole reality? Feeds you a whole menu. And you can just, the rule of opposites. Well, thank you, reality, for putting this in my hand. You have this 3x5 card. It means what's real is the opposite. Matt, that's really convenient to say. Just take the opposite. Well, okay, but in a practical application or how we've studied reality, you tell me one situation where it's not the opposite, where it's not, people have done these sorts of opposite, word plays with different segments or facets of society and culture. Medical, what does it brings more? Does it bring cures or does it bring suffering and death? Well, it generally brings that. The banking and finances, does it bring quality of life and affluence for all, and ease his field of dreams, ease his pain, and or does it bring debt and burden and hardship and poverty and suffering? That's what the financial services bring. Everything here is the opposite. Does the political system of Chuck Schumer type vampire monsters, does it bring hope and freedom and a way to change, a way to make things better? Does it breed stagnation and freedom's taken away and a different form of slavery and hopelessness? It breeds that. Everything is the opposite here. Like everything everything major that it's presented for, like, since we've been looking at reality with a skeptical eyes. I'm not going to say eye anymore. Some weird allusion to right eye or something. If you've trained an eye on that, that's like, I don't know. I don't like that for some reason. It doesn't matter. Matt, per your affirmations, it doesn't matter how you say things. You're right. It doesn't matter. Done the affirmation. If I play into their word magic and say, I'm only human, So what if I let one go in this elevator? I'm only human. So it doesn't work anymore. If I by mistake play into their word magic, I've already laid the affirmations down that doesn't. I'm not only human. I mean, I've already. In other words, I'm not kind of screwing myself using that language, because we've seen through it a long time ago. And I do this happens to me once a day with the word damn. I'll just something, damn it, and then I'll say, okay, I don't damn anything myself, but then I get on myself. Matt, you said the affirmation years ago that word, when you use it, you're using it because you've been kind of trained to use it since junior high school. It's not giving the not milk what it wants. So I do struggle with that. And why am I doing this reaffirmation all the time? Anyway, guys, obviously it plays its games with the English language. So one, no consequences, person or not, one dooms themselves by saying things like, I'm only human. There's nothing more dooming than that. You're declaring yourself that you're only human. And what is their real definition of the human, the Homo sapien sapien, where they added the extra sapien because modern man is double dumb. Double your pleasure, double medgum, sapien sapien, double dumb. I mean, what is a human from their perspective? It's the opposite. We should say, catch yourself saying I'm only human, saying I'm not human. And I never was. I don't know what term they came up with for that or what that means, but I'm not that. So the point is, guys, everything's the opposite. So if you're low, if it says you're low and it says all these things about you, then it means it's just the opposite. Meaning the most important part of this conversation is what you have the power to decide now for you and for whatever for the aspect of you that might not be here, or other aspects of you that may be in other places. They're all, maybe every other aspect is just completely fooled, whether it be an incarnation in this time period or in this earth. There could be somebody could be, Tony said, time is, it doesn't matter about the time or anything like that. One lifetime doesn't have to, doesn't have to go. Zara is not cooperating today. Doesn't have to go in sequentially. It all happens at once. It's all laid down on the record. All the music is there on the record, the vinyl record at once. And it just, it sounded like, from Tony's perspective, that the higher self is kind of trapped. Don't like the word, but see, not from any outside force at all. Its own, and it knows eventually one of the incarnations will give it everything it needs, just as we're likely doing now. Delusions of grandeur, Matt. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Matt, you drink that poison? Who cares? So let's say in general it takes a few months off my. Who cares? I like it. It tastes good. I don't care about that. Whoops. I don't. I'm not gonna. I don't just. I'm not. I don't abuse. I understand the symbiotic relationship I have with my body or the body. I don't abuse it, other than in certain ways, like eating fast food from once in a while and things like that. I'm we need to be symbiotic and respectful to the body, but let's not lose track, Matt, of what's being said here. We hope we doing enough to give the higher self what it needs just from one single incarnation, so everybody can get out. It's the best way to it's a bad example probably, but the best way to kind of get across what I'm saying is just the higher self, or waiting for one of the incarnations to say the magic words. That's obviously, it's not that. It needs, the work is a 20, 30 year, the part two, the work, the worry about yourself activities it's a lot of stuff that needs to be done here. I don't want to make it seem like my belief set is, we just decide, we understand now, all of a sudden we understand who we really are, and just declare we're done with this. Well, you can't fake it to make it either. You can't say, I'm done with all this. Have you done the work? Does the rooster down the road still bother you? Yeah. Do certain relatives still bug you, and this, and you still get upset at politicians and the Nancy Pelosi monster when it comes on tele? Yeah, it still bothers me. Well, then you haven't done the work. You haven't done what you needed to do. You can't fake it to make it. You can say, we're done with this. Well, it's, think of it as like the French elections. you need the 50% or more threshold to secure the left-wing lunatic seat in Parliament. You need to get over the 51%, at least in the first round of elections, so you don't have to participate in the horrible rigged runoff. Have you done the work? Can't fake it to make it. Higher self knows. So yeah, ultimately, at the end it might be, we're done with this, but only said when. Well, why are you done with this? Just to say it? Just to do the escape room in the mall? Or no, this reality is here for a reason. It's anxiety, stress, worry, pressures, jealousy, 7 deadly sins, all the crap it throws at us. We're never going to be perfect, but have we done enough? And my belief is, and every cell in my being resonates with this, that approaching death, the moment of death, we'll probably have an idea a day or 2 or 3 before that we're not going to hang on much longer. Just in a complete, I don't like the word resignation either, but that's not good. A complete confidence, put it that way, that we've done enough, learned everything we could have learned. Were we perfect? No. Somebody could come in and say, well, you didn't do that. That rooster still bothered you a little. And you could just smile at that person. Yeah, it still bothered me a little. But just a complete aura of cross the threshold of done enough. Don't need to be perfect. The standard of the Buddha is, I'm not an expert on Buddhism, but looking to the standard of Buddha is just, I think it's one of the tricks of this reality. I don't know if I want to do a whole separate thing on Buddhism, but It just doesn't seem very, very helpful to have a billion people in a religion where it seems to, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems that they're already resigned to the fact that there will be thousands of more lifetimes. Isn't there a statement in Buddhism that if you pass by a strange, older woman on the street you've never seen before, that in another lifetime that could potentially or likely be your mother, and there's that many lifetimes? So that's already in their head that they're going to, and also there's so many thousands of lifetimes, and then they have to achieve this, or at least this unrealistic standard of the Buddha, where, I've used this, I'm sorry to be a little crude, guys, cover the, if anybody's not old enough, but, going into the moment of death, if you're, as a Buddhist, what did I achieve any sort of enlightenment, or did I even get close to the standard of Buddha, or what the, knowing the person knows it whacked itself off thousands of thousands of times? Come on, the standard of Buddha. That's such a false. Buddhism seems like a not milk trick to me. It really does. No, I think the opposite is better. That there is no. I'm not looking to some perfect standard. You can't achieve anything close to that here. This is meant to be low. The experience is meant to be embraced, but it's meant to be overcome. Better yourself. Have you done enough? Not, well, what is that standard? There is no exact metric or anything that can be spelled out, or anything that can be put in a pie chart or graph about having, come here, Czar, come on over here, sweetie, having done enough. It's our own standard, and you'll know it if you achieve it or not. And have you done enough of the worry about yourself activity? Yeah, Matt, you're allowed to just grab her. Yeah, have you done enough of the worry about yourself activities? And there's no exact. I'm going to ask the not milk what the exact threshold is for me or us to win. What is that old piece of shit phone? Look at that horse shit. Look, yeah, I got it at the Goodwill. It's just I can't stand. I don't use the cell phone much. I love landlines with the cord. I do like big buttons. It's like the jitterbug. I can actually see, although my vision isn't that bad yet. But look at that piece of shit. He's got the emerald green notebook. All right, guys. Well, let's do the headlines. It's so. I think what we need to do here. Worry about yourself. The spiritual matters is simple. It's easy. When you talk about repeat the same thing over and over, it's pretty simple. You're a little aspect of something spiritually larger, and you're here for a reason. Get it done. Just get it done. And know, going into the moment of death, you've done enough. Declare them you're not doing it anymore. It's that simple? Yeah, I believe it is. I don't believe it's just some hopeless delusion to make myself feel better. Matt, don't you need Jesus? I don't believe I do. I'm not. Why is it one size fits all? If you need Jesus, if you need Buddha, if you need this, or you need Muhammad, I don't believe I need those whatever they are. I'm sorry. I don't think it's one size. How do you know why does it always have to be one size fit all? Maybe you need Jesus. How do you know, was I exactly the same as you before we incarnate? How do you know? We don't. Anyway, let's see. CNN will refresh from time to time. The water pistol. Barcelona anti-tourism protesters fire water pistols at visitors, and it shows two women with plastic. What's wrong with that? It's probably hot as heck over there, like it is here. I couldn't find anything better than two, and they're relatively attractive women, shooting water pistols at me. What am I getting? I'm not going to be dressed real nice. Oh, in a playful way. First of all, it's an icebreaker if I want to approach those women. Two, keep it coming, honey. Yeah, get me under the chin. It's hot. I'd love it. What are they making this seem like it's a bad thing? It's a good thing. What the hell is wrong with this article? Fareed Zakaria is still around. These we could talk about Stalled Century for a little bit using that vampire villain, Fareed Zakaria. Right when his show first came on, I don't know where I was in terms of truth research or. Guys, we were in that segment when we started to see, most of us came through the 7-Eleven job application, the big event in 2001. A lot of us came into truth through that because of how strange, mysterious, unbelievable that event was. So, but we were very fooled, at least how I came into truth for several years, meaning we started to see through the 7-Eleven job application how it wasn't some um, a man in a cave. We'll just keep it like that. It wasn't what they said. So all that's false, and we're doing all these videos and everything. But then we're still believing in the political system. We didn't really understand. Or I'm sorry, I'll speak for myself. Sorry, I shouldn't speak for you here. I didn't really understand in 2007 and 2008, and that, well, if this is completely fraudulent, then there's no possible way like the Chuck Schumer election is legitimate, or a presidential election is legitimate. If the fraud's over here, then it really exists. The fraud is basically everywhere. Then it took me several years, to realize that. I mean, I remember even thinking, when Trump was campaigning in 2015 initially, I remember still watching a little bit of the Alex Jones show here and there, and just almost like hoping, like, could this be somebody that gets in, that makes changes? Is there? No, I was very skeptical, of course, that anything like that could be done, but I certainly didn't understand reality in 2014, 2015 like I do now. I mean, this is almost 10 years ago, and just a little bit of hope still for the political system, as ridiculous as that sounds to us right now. And then, of course, if there was just that 1% of hope, well, it almost on the day of the inauguration, it was all snuffed out, where Trump he thanks Senator Schumer, and immediately starts not apologize to Hillary, but calls her criminal, but then says some nice things about Hillary Clinton, and just goes off to the White House and within days just starts acting like every other president. Well, Matt, you should have been at 100% years before that. Well, I was at 97 or 98%, and I wasn't out there flying Trump banners. But I just remember being very honest with you. Just remember thinking that, I remember saying these sorts of words, saying something like, at least whatever happens, reality will finally be revealed, because if there is any chance this person is anti-system, we should know on the very first day. I mean, what would you do if you were anti-system and you made it into the presidency? You would just go back and you would start restoring liberties, and he did nothing, of course. But then after, so a few of us that, whatever your belief in the political system may be, that held out any hope for, going into 2013, 14, 15, even 16, of course, for 8 years or so, we've understood that this political system is not just rigged; it's decided upon. It's basically like an act in a soap opera. It's written out. It's a script. The decisions were made years ago, or longer than that. What was I talking about this? Oh, but well, people will still, that there's the hardcore Trump supporters saw him go in for 4 years, and they nothing happened. No liberties were restored. Nothing. He didn't even build the wall, and now they want him back. It is true psychosis. I agree. It took us a little bit too long, it took me too long. I had people. I remember making some political comments, and I'm doing whether it was this channel or the old Texas Shrugged. We're covering Captain the movie with Robin Williams. We're covering the mall events, the school events. We're covering the Robin Williams movie, Captain Hook. We're covering the mall events, the school events. For years, we've been talking about the 7-Eleven job application, how fraudulent that whole official story is. But then I remember the Captain Hook movie was 2012. So all this is a fraud. Yet I remember several times saying, making certain comments about politics where I guess in whatever comment I made, like the assumption is part of it's real. And I would have commenters with 2012, 13, 14. This is 10 years ago. And they would tell me, Matt, stop it. There is no legitimacy, no chance that even I probably was a believer in Ron Paul back then. Oh, Ron Paul's eventually going to expose the Fed. I was that sort of hopeful conservative. Was probably listening to Rush Limbaugh through 2010, 11, 12. That sort of. So listen, it just doesn't make any sense today to us. I agree. Listening to Rush Limbaugh, but then going to do a Captain Hook mall event, school event, fake presentation breakdowns. And then you can't reconcile that, and just, I guess, well, Rush Limbaugh just doesn't see he thinks it's real. No, it's all fake. The whole reality, and it just, it's so hard to accept that, guys. I don't beat myself up that it took a few years longer than it should have for me to see that, as long as we get to the right place. And then after that, okay, everything's a trick, everything's fraudulent, and then 3 or 4 years into that, saying, well, wait a second, this is where it wants me. I'm in the weeds where it wants me. This is part of the trick too. This is the conspiracy generation machine. This is the yellow breadcrumbs. This is also just part of not milk, even if it seems like truth. We have to worry about your self-activities, the part 2. What are we here for? That's the only way to win, is to break out on into that other side, which most of us have done here, and most of this truth research community has not done. They're still looking at their whatever they're looking at. I don't want to mention any specific names or channels and anything. You know what I mean. It's a reality generation machine / conspiracy generation machine / Lucy / Lucifer in the Chocolate Factory. If you're interested in it, it'll just keep coming. I mean, that is obvious at this point, and therefore it's obvious to leave it all behind. Although, I'll allow myself one vice in this regard. Some people come to me, Matt, my vice is Tartaria. I still like the old architecture videos. Okay, cool. As long as you understand, and put that into the perspective of how that fits into the reality trick. My vice, I told you, I still watch Echo Chamberlain, the movie reviewer, very intelligent comedy. I like the way he lays it down. He had a video actually saying how good House of the Dragon is, like the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon, especially compared to this horrible Disney horror shit and all this other crap that's around. And if anybody screaming at me, Matt, how, in this age of everything made bad, how is it that House of the Dragon is good? How are they allowing Dune 2, by the way, is only good. Dune 2 is good, but it's not phenomenal like people said. It's only phenomenal because it's compared to everything else. It's such absolute horse shit. It's horror. Everything else is horrible. And Dune 2, it was good, but if Dune 2 was released the week of Goodfellas and back in the late 80s, 90s, it would be nice. It wouldn't be that great. But House of the Dragon, same thing. It's not that great, but it's phenomenal compared to anything in the last 10 or 15 years. Why are they? First off, let me just say this. If now we've gotten on this, I'm gonna do some of these headlines, guys. I don't believe it's possible. I do believe the whole reality of once you cross that barrier and it's coming from not milk, it's all part of not milk. I don't think there can be some like oasis or this bastion of freedom over here. In other words, there's just no chance, in my opinion, that Warner Brothers still has good people trying to make Time Warner, trying to make good shows and in some way impervious to not milk wishes. No, it's not possible, especially for a large corporation. They all sit at the creepy table. Therefore, if House of the Dragon is good, not milk intends it or allows it to be good. And I'm not prepared to. We'll do a whole video on that, I guess, sometime. Just pops what Dan said pops back into my mind, that nothing can truly be seen as bad or destroyed unless it can be once in a while compared to something good. You need a baseline, or it needs to be, you need a baseline of a few things that are of quality in order for you to see or truly recognize the inadequacy or the poor quality or the adulterization of media, whatever. There's other things to talk about too, and we'll talk about it some other time. But it's not like Time Warner, Warner Brothers, whoever, Max, HBO, still has some good people that no, not milk is allowing it. Not Nilk is seeing to it that that House of the Dragon is good. If Not Nilk, or whatever that means to us, doesn't want anything to be good, it wouldn't be good. Nobody gets through Not Nilk. If you are, you might, if you live on your own and whatever you want to be left alone, you're a homesteader. If you are in a corporation, if you're listed on the New York Stock Exchange or the the Nasdaq or whatever, I mean, you don't operate outside of Not Nilk. It's all Longshanks. It's all Not Nilk. But we'll talk about that in the future. This is the Biden. I thought this was the Biden headline. This one is, Biden is under scrutiny at NATO summit. No one expected the NATO meeting this week to turn into a public test of Biden's health and cognitive capacity. Well, so Matt, because this is the script, the Biden script that will attach to him like the egregores attached in the movie Branded to the people that ate the McDonald's and couldn't see how they're feeding the overall egregores. This is the script attached to Biden now. Is he competent? I mean, well, doesn't that mean he was an actor? He was acting. That is very interesting. At first I wanted to say, most of you didn't see the debate, but he was embarrassing, and he stumbled over his words, and it was cringeworthy, and he looked like an old man. And I said, sometimes an old man is an old man. They wanted him to stumble. They want this to attach. They knew he couldn't perform. They know his cognitive capacity. They know his age, which as Vlad the Impaler, he could be over 400 years old. But his age here is 91, or at least that's when they dusted off or redid a new birth certificate for Vlad the Impaler, and it said Joe Biden, Delaware. And then they put his sole print, his soul, which he didn't have. He put the footprint down for the soul, and they kept putting the doctors were confused with Joe Biden. There was nothing there. Well, put more ink on his foot. The soul print can't be left because there's nothing there. I said, well, sometimes an old man is just an old man. But see, if he were the next day, he had a rally where he was much more impressive. And put it this way. If he has days where he's good, well, but Matt, an old man can have days that he's good and bad too. You know what the answer is? Matt, practice what you preach, you son of a beach. Practice what you preach. It doesn't matter. Practice what you preach, Matt. You just, in the last video, you said trying to figure out is exactly what it wants. Now you're doing it, you dumb. Yeah. See? Fall right back into it. So obviously, whether he's really they know he's not going to perform because he's an old man or he's an actor, it doesn't matter. But obviously, the Not Nilk, we do observe and still the Not Nilk script. Want to see how that's going to play out, how that affects our reality to a degree. I'm always going to be interested in the Not Nilk script or what's coming. Well, that whole stigma about Joe Biden's mental capacity, and in some way, does that feed they have a whole, after the Simone Biles twisties thing, how she wasn't the very first, but that was a gigantic, quote, global, I'm sorry if you're triggered, global push for that mental health. 2 years in the news cycle, and this was the download, folks. This is the download at play, the radio station, the frequency, where a lot of top athletes couldn't play a game or had to sit out because of their mental health. And Lane Johnson comes to mind, one of the biggest, toughest, meanest offensive linemen. If you've never seen, we used to go to Westchester when the Eagles used to practice. When I was a kid, my dad would take me to Westchester University, and they would practice preseason up there, the camp, I guess. They would go up there for 2 weeks and have the 3-a-day practices. And even back then, the size, if you've never stood next to an NFL offensive lineman, you really have no idea how big these people are. And this is back in the day. This Lane Johnson is just, you almost, again, you can't understand how massive some of these people are unless you've been. I've walked at Penn State, there's some of those offensive linemen are 310, 15 pounds. I've walked by a few, and it's just like, what the hell? Anyway, this Lane Johnson, and he's tough. He has to sit, a couple of years ago, he has to sit out a few games, or he can't practice for a few weeks because he has mental health. Now, the first grade truther can only explain it. The Men in Black came in and said, Lane, you don't know us. Are you with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, and you got some sort of pen, and no, don't ask questions, Lane. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to have a press conference, and you're going to pretend nobody came in and sat him down. That's just not the way that this reality works. I appreciate the first grade truther sees that there's a lot wrong in the world, but then they always just they do a knee jerk to the same old toy box, and it's got to be the secret societies, and everybody's in on it. The download frequency in radio station is the only way to explain it anymore. Nobody talked to Lane Johnson. Nobody told him that we'll give you an extra $1 million if you play along. No. He just decided he's on the frequency. He decided he has a mental. That was what was being pushed by Not Milk. He has a mental health issue. He's going to see doctors. He's not going to be able to play a game or two. It happened in the NBA. It happened all across professional sports. And it was so contrived with Michael Phelps the day after doing his little soliloquies at the Olympics with Mike Tirico. Is there anybody more obnoxious in the world than Mike Tirico of NBC? He should be ashamed of himself. I mean, he's going to be doing the Olympics again. It's almost like I love the track and field, especially. I like some of the swimming. I like some of the gymnastics as well. But I have to put up with Mike Tirico and maybe Michael Phelps again. And I have nicknames for Mike Tirico I can't even say on this platform. Maybe I'll say it on the other platform, freevoice.io. And Michael Phelps, his soliloquies start the next day. They are talking about how hard it is for athletes, mental health. And that just kind of, the waves just started spreading around those that are on the frequency, the download. And high school students heard it. Now they have a problem and they can't practice. And it spread to hundreds of thousands of athletes. And it spread throughout all of general society. BetterHelp commercials, BetterHelp. I haven't seen many recently, but for years it was BetterHelp. Call, online counseling, BetterHelp. Although it's maybe it just doesn't target me. I don't know, but I watched television. There was a lot on TV that doesn't seem to be there. So it wasn't just athletes. The athletes are used to springboard it into general society because people look to the athletes first. That's what will get their attention. That's what will make the news. That's what people want to emulate. It doesn't, if he is Vlad, I'm looking at Biden now, if he is Vlad the Impaler and he is over 400 years old, then he was acting. But sometimes an old man is just an old man. Here's one. Why McDonald's killed this menu item? Why McDonald's killed this menu item? Well, it's killed a lot more than a menu item. What if you added up, if you added up the amount killed in World War II from, say, the Axis powers, would you think the amount that McDonald's has versus Germany and Japan and Italy in World War II, which number do you think would be the McDonald's? Yeah, I agree. The McDonald's would be a lot. Where it used to say, I don't know if they, as a kid, I remember in the 70s and 80s, they always had underneath the McDonald's, they put like over 1 billion served. That was a big deal. Well, I don't know what I can say on this platform, but what they should say now is over 1 billion blanked. The salads. They're getting rid of the salads. Why McDonald's killed this menu item? Well, I don't know what the article says. I'll try to look at it quickly for you guys, but it's obvious why they killed that menu item. They couldn't make it unhealthy. Okay, this supposedly explains it. In 2018, salads became more of a liability than a draw into McDonald's. That year, 2018, hundreds of people were sickened with an intestinal illness caused by consuming contaminated food or water. McDonald's salads were, quote, one likely source of these infections. The CDC was studying McDonald's salads. I mean, they got problems with the rest of the food. I mean, I was sickened once by the meat. It's not a joke. I'm not sure I'm going to tell the story. I have to tell the story now, right? Yeah. During the outbreak, the chain stopped selling its salads at 3,000 restaurants as a precautionary measure. Well, it says hundreds of people sickened with an intestinal illness from salads. There are hundreds or thousands of people sickened a day from the burgers and the meat. I myself, I'm sorry, guys, but I got to tell it now. Ken, and this girl that he knew from Penn State, he had a car. We're driving back to Penn State after whatever break. Philadelphia back to the middle of Pennsylvania. We stop at the Morgantown McDonald's, which was right off the Pennsylvania Turnpike exit, Morgantown. Within, I don't know what, a Big Mac I had, whatever, I don't know, two cheeseburgers, fries. Within, I'll keep the details at a minimum if you're eating. 10 minutes after we get back on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And for those that don't know, it's 20 minutes to the next exit. In some cases can be 25 minutes. That freaked out. Somebody I knew came in from the West Coast, and the Pennsylvania Turnpike freaked her out because there was like, you can't get off. Like she felt confined. There's no way off. Like in certain parts of the West Coast, there's an exit literally every half mile or mile. There's ways to get on and off these freeways all over the place. If you miss the King of Prussia exit, you have like 20 minutes, well, a little bit less to Downingtown, and then 20 more minutes to Morgan. Anyway, so we get on. There's no way off. 10 minutes after the McDonald's, Ken, pull over. Pull over. And Ken's like, no, I'm not pulling. You can hold. No. And he saw in my eyes, pull, and screaming, pull. Well, there's nothing there but cornfields, forest, right into the forest. This is no joke, I was called the bear for the rest of the semester. So what are you talking about? Hundreds sickened from the salads? That's nothing. There are probably thousands a day from the meat. And it probably contains some sort of Dr. F RNA, to convert your RNA contaminant that they learned from the renting of the movie, the movie with Carl Weathers, Action Jacksonation. They learned from that. The burger itself probably carries an mRNA converter of some kind. I mean, what are they talking about here? The salads could probably have whole cities drop over, and that would be the menu item you still should look for. So this is just wrong from top to bottom. Let's see what else is at CNN. Let's do these headlines a little bit more quickly just to close out. How Airbnb avoids responsibility for what happens at homes it profits from. Airbnb, when you rent a house, somehow it avoids responsibility. So there's a whole, I mean, my gosh, you do a whole video on this. This whole litigious lawsuit happy society. I mean, I'm sure Airbnb sits at the creepy table. I'm not here to say too many nice things about any corporation, but why would they be responsible? They just hook up people that own homes, the people that want to stay in homes. Anyway, obviously there's a few issues with the U.S. legal system that I could talk about for 24 hours straight with a Texas catheter. Woman codes the Chat GPT AI to be her boyfriend. See what happened. So when was the movie Her? Let me look this up, guys. You know the movie Her, where he falls in love with his operating system, Joaquin Phoenix? When was the movie Her? 2013 was Her, where Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with his operating system, the gentle woman's voice. And what if we were told in 2013 that this will happen roughly 11 years later, for real? I probably would have believed it. I don't think that's, with technology for what it was in 2013, I don't think that would have been out of the question. But it's happening now, and I'm not going to dive into this article more. Remember, in Her, what was really devastating to Joaquin Phoenix, he thought he had a special thing going with the operating system, and he says, "Are you talking to someone else at the same time you're talking to me?" And she had 600 and some conversations. It was either 600 conversations at once, or the 600 conversations were all her boyfriends. The operating system had 600 other Joaquin Phoenixes, and he thought he was special. Guys, I know, some people get a little too close to their cats, and that becomes a surrogate for a real human being. And there's some issues with that need to be discussed, not with a therapist, but just out in the open. But this is a whole new level when people are looking to an AI. I'll stick with the cats. I'm not gonna look to an AI to be my girlfriend. I don't know. I thought when I first started doing the segment, I thought we could have never visioned that it would happen so quickly after the movie Her. But it's like 11 years later. Yeah, we could. And people screaming at me now saying, "Matt, it's amazing it wasn't happening at the time the movie Her came out." I hear you. Let's see. Let's just do these other headlines quickly. Opinion. It's time to find out whether Biden has cognitive impairment or not. Yeah, what is it? Put him on that show. Is it called Who's smarter than a fifth grader? Or are you smarter than a fifth grader? I'd be terrified to go on that show because it could prove I'm not as smart as a fifth grader. Put him on that show. Or we used to, in elementary school, going into junior high, we used to issue retard tests. I remember one of the give him what we used to issue in junior high school, a retard test. You say to somebody, okay, here's test number one. Two houses identical. One's a red house, one's a blue house. They're both one-story houses, ranchers. Okay, one-story houses, red house and a blue house. What color do you think the couch is in the red house? And the kid would say red. And you get him you just lull him into a mindlessness. What color do you think the couch is in the blue house? Blue. What color do you think the carpet is in the red house? Red. What color do you think the carpet is in the blue house? Blue. You go, what color are the steps going upstairs in the red house? Red. It's a one-story house, you jackass. That's how you get them. So let's just do something like that to Biden, or throw him a banjo. If you don't want him to be able to play it, that's the thing. If he can play, he's okay. No. If he can play, he's not okay. If you throw him the banjo and he goes, "Why are you giving me this?" That's a normal cognitive response. Like, "Why are you handing me this? I'm the president of the United States. Get this out of my face before I have you fired, sent you off to a gulag in Siberia." That's what you want. If he takes it and goes, ding 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 ding, and he just starts playing some ditty from the hills of West Virginia, then that's not what you want from a president. All right, what else is here? Is that about it, guys? Amazon just dropped a new Echo Spot, and it's already on sale ahead of Prime Day. And it's already snooping on millions of people and listening to every word they're saying and reporting that back to Not Milk. Echo Spot, guys, it must be like the Alexa device and these devices where they artificially brought the price point down, where just low enough where it seemed like a legitimate product, where of course they were subsidizing $100 on each one of these to get these listening devices into everyone's home. Like everything listens, your laptop. This is why it proves we're ultimately not dealing with something human, what they call human. I'll just continue to use the word because we need another word for it, but we'll stick with it for now. It's not something that continuously has to observe the real spiritual being, has to listen to everything, has to read every email. Its quest for data and information is insatiable. It is an AI system, or it's a weird entity. It's just, there's no group of just humans in flesh and bodies, for example, that would need to collect up this much data. I'm sure my what I call the new iMac, which is now approaching 4 years old, I believe, is listening to everything. My laptop, I don't have a smartphone. Smart TVs. Now everybody has this little device. Pam has the Alexa. Alexa, play smooth jazz, and it just I don't have these devices, but isn't it collecting enough data on somebody? All their Facebook posts, every email's read. Every phone call that goes out on a cell phone is in digital. It can take that up in a transcript. In other words, it's a really weird entity or an AI or something that would need to collect up this much data. It just doesn't make sense. So now they have these little devices. And of the funniest, I've told you this before, guys, but the funniest thing of all time, I think, was when I talked to my father about the listening or the devices, and he would say, I've told you this before, I'm remembering, so I'll be quick, but in his phone, I think he said, is it a Galaxy? I think he said, "Okay, Google" would wake it up. Like Siri wakes up the Apple, I guess. I'm no expert at this stuff, obviously. "Okay, Google." I said, "Dad, when I used to try to tell him about some of the stuff that we're interested in, everything's listening." He said, "It's not listening. This is so funny, but I've said this before. It only wakes up and listens when I say, 'Okay, Google.' But it has to be listening to everything you say in order to listen for the "Okay, Google." How does it, if it's not listening to every word you say, how's it waking up when you say "Okay, Google" in the air? See? And he kind of got that. He went, "Oh yeah, it would have to be listening to every single word to listen for when to wake up." It has the dragons in House of Dragon. They have to be listening to everything when you say Dracarys to these dragons, then they spew their fire. I learned that in Game of Thrones 1. Dracarys, you say as is it Targaryen? House Targaryen? House Valerian. The dragon has to be listening to everything, because then when you say Tagaris, then it spills a bunch of oil, then it lights with some sort of Bic lighter in its mouth, and that lights the oil. That's how dragon fire works. And then the oil gets all over, and you just burn and burn. It's not just fire on its own. I don't know if you knew that. It's very important to know. It's a stream of oil that's lit with something. That's where Bic lighters got the original idea of how you light up a flame. Matt, it's breaking down. Yeah, it is. Well, all right. But I saw this one. We'll close with this, I guess. We slept on. This is a CNN headline. This isn't like sponsored or anything. It is. No, it isn't sponsored. It's not, even though it's the Amazon product and it's just regular CNN. We slept on 11 mattresses. These 3 will suit every type of sleeper. 11 mattresses, 3. That's how they work the 33 in without. How reality works at 33 and without it just blatantly saying 33 all the time. And all the people that do email me, what's with these mattress stores all over the place? How many mattresses does one buy in a lifetime? It is awfully strange, folks. And there's 2 down here on Sweetsford Road and 100 across the street from each other. And every department store like Boscov's, they still sell it. And I think, Big Lots, I think, sells the mattresses. And it's all online. The Purple, there's 10 major online brands. How many are they selling? It is a little strange. But this just adds to the strangeness. We slept on 11, and these 3 will suit every type of sleeper. The 33, got to work that in somehow. All right, guys. I guess that's it. Gaza's chessboard of suffering. Tens of thousands on the move again as IDF issues new evacuation orders. Remember the video a week or so about Gaza. Location right on the Mediterranean Sea, is it? Right on the border, the very important border, Egypt to Israel, and not much fighting in West Bank, but a lot of problem and suffering in Gaza. Tens of thousands on move again as IDF issues new evacuation orders, and the builders, I'm sure that the builders of the beachfront properties for the billionaire Israelis are ready to move in with their backhoes, and they're already taking the orders for what type of magenta speedboat, how much horsepower, how you want to dock it. All the beachfront property looks like they probably have it all mapped out with blueprints and architects right now. Once we get these in their meetings, once we get these poor devils evacuated, then we can call for peace terms. We can just put back the exact same situation that existed before. Hamas will still be there. Hamas, useful idiots. They're not in on it. They're being drummed up to play their role. Maybe a few of their leaders understand not milk, but for the most part, they're playing their role, and they'll be put back in place. Nothing will change, of course, except I guess if you drive that stretch of Gaza 10 years from now. From central Israel down towards the Egyptian border, it'll just be a litany or a lineup of multi-million-dollar homes and magenta speedboats. And where will the Palestinians that were Gaza, where will they be? Well, of course, they'll be even more packed into the West Bank. That's where those put them in the West Bank, and then shrink that down until it becomes the size of one gigantic broom closet for all the Palestinians with no passports to leave. Matt, it's broken down. It has broken down. When I completely lose it, guys, you'll know. Not quite there yet. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.